Roxy Sims here, and I have another speed build for you today. Today, I am building a Japanese city street / karaoke bar. When I use this lot in my game, I'm mainly going to be using it for the karaoke bar, but I couldn't just name it karaoke bar because it is a lot that has quite a few things going on in it. I'll go ahead and I'll list everything that's on this lot. So first we have a more traditional style Japanese bar. Then we have a more modern style karaoke bar. We have a whole house, and then we have a salon. On top of the salon, there is a music shop, a place where you can buy instruments. And then on top of the karaoke bar, we have 2 apartments, one on top of the other. So, yeah, 3 living spaces and 4 different kind of community spaces going on just on this one lot. I always really like making these versatile lots that are potentially have lots of different uses. They are always a ton of work, but they are always a lot of fun for me to build, and I'm always very happy to have them in my game, once I go through all that work. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be using this in my game as a karaoke bar / bar, but there are definitely a few ways that you can go about using this thing. First of all, I'll explain exactly how I will use it. Okay, so in the karaoke bar building, there is an actual bar that a bartender can use, but I put that in there for you guys in case you want to have the bartender in there. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete that bar and then just replace it with the matching countertops, so that when the bartender spawns, the bartender will actually be in the more traditional bar building. The reason that I'm going to do that is that whenever I make these big buildings that have lots of different uses, I like for Sims to kind of be in all of the different sections of the build. Does that make sense? So whenever you actually want to buy a drink or food or whatever, there will be Sims in the bar section doing that as well, but when it's set to a karaoke bar, so there will be actually people using the karaoke machines as well. So anything I can do to make it to where Sims will be all throughout the building, that is what I try to do. Then whenever I want my Sims to have their makeup done or their hair done, I can invite people in the salon to come do my hair and makeup. There is also a chair in there where you can get a hand massage, a foot massage, and also get your nails done, and you can hire people to come do that so that you can use kind of every bottom level that you want all at the same time, even though you can only have one lot type set. So I like doing any little trick where it can be used as multiple lot types, but only have it be actually one. But of course, you don't have to use it that way if you don't want. You can also have it set to retail, where either you can go buy some of the instruments, musical instruments, or you could own it as a retail store and sell the musical instruments yourself. Like I said earlier, there's also 3 living spaces. So there's like a full house in there, and then 2 apartments. So one way you can go about it is you could just set this as a residential, and then you can hire a bartender to be working the bar downstairs, or hire someone in the salon to do your nails, that kind of thing. You'll definitely have to use money cheats if you do that though, because I'm sure this is expensive, and I'm sure it would cost a lot of money to pay for the bills for this place. But you could also use the roommate system, which I love, which is so cool because, like I said, there are 3 different living spaces, and you can have 2 different roommates. And then what you can do is you can lock the doors for each one so that the roommates, don't constantly try to go in everyone else's space. So that's one way you can do it too. That will also help with the bills, although admittedly I don't know exactly how much, because I tend to use money cheats when it comes to housing. I do pretty much always cheat anytime I play The Sims, just because I like to have a very fully furnished house. But then I don't cheat. After that point, after I've already bought the house and everything, then I get rid of the extra money and play normally. But so I don't always know exactly how much everything costs. I'm just saying. Oh, I wanted to talk about that thing I just built, which is actually a like Japanese style public post office box. Because I had never seen what a post office box looks like in Japan. So I had to look that up, definitely. I spent a lot of time on Google before I make anything that is based on a place that I have never been. So I did a lot of research, and that actually is pretty similar to what they really look like in real life. So I was very thrilled to see that I could make something that looked at least a little bit accurate. I always get super nervous whenever I'm building anything that's based on somewhere I've never been. Because I've only been to North America and a couple countries in Europe. I have never been able to go to Asia. I would love to, but, travel is very expensive, especially whenever it's like across, the ocean flight. That always adds a lot of money to it. But if I ever have money, believe me, I will go. But in the meantime, I just have to base the build off of Google Images. And that's scary sometimes because you just don't always know how accurate or common the thing is in the picture that you're looking at, right? For example, I live in this very small town in the Midwest, and there are not really any Victorian houses in my town. Nothing against them. They don't really exist here. However, there might be like a couple. Like a few Victorian houses. So if people take pictures of those Victorian houses, they can post them online, and someone searching on the internet for what houses look like in my town could see like 3 pictures of Victorian houses. So why wouldn't they believe that Victorian houses are common here, right? So unless you've actually been to the place, there's not a real way to know how accurate or common or traditional that style in that picture really is. Does that make sense? Because unless it's a really big city, there's not always that many pictures to go off of, right? And like if you look up Japan, for example, a lot of the pictures you'll see are of Tokyo, which of course Tokyo doesn't represent all of Japan. So, but just know that anytime that I do build something that's very different from where I live, I always do a ton of research, and I do my very best to make it as accurate as possible. What always kills me is that you'll like Google Japanese traditional bar, and then pictures of someplace in the United States where someone made a bar based on Japan comes up. Pictures of that comes up. And I'm like, no, I want an actual bar in Japan. I need those pictures because I hate the idea of like making a caricature of some place, and that happens way too often on Google, I'm telling you. The solution, of course, has to be that I somehow become very rich and I travel the entire world to know firsthand what every place looks like. So yeah, that's definitely my goal. Don't know how I'm going to accomplish it, but that is seriously what I would do if I somehow became rich overnight. You would never see me in this town again. I would be traveling everywhere. I say that all the time, as if suddenly becoming rich is a real possibility, It's like, oh, what if I won the lottery, even though I don't even play the lottery? It's that kind of dream, but I do someday hope that I can travel more. That's like a real bucket list item. That, and I would also like to go to like really fancy restaurants because I don't really get to do that very much. But speaking of that, great segue, because that leads into, it was just at the time of me recording this video, I was actually mine and my husband's anniversary, or wedding anniversary, and we did get to go to a fancy restaurant. I never get to go to those ever because I'm just not I'm not wealthy enough to do that. But this time we actually splurged a little, went to a really nice restaurant, very fancy, at least very fancy for this area and for me. Like it had a valet, and that's probably kind of common in bigger city areas, but for little town me, I was like, whoa, ooh, a valet is so fancy. We spent a little bit more on our anniversary this year because we didn't really get to do anything last year. It was like more of the middle of the pandemic, you know? So, you know, we took last year's anniversary budget and this year's, put it together, went to a fancy restaurant. But of course, I can't go to a fancy restaurant without embarrassing myself because the hostess, she brings us to our table and I start scooting in, and of course, I sit on the long, nice tablecloth on there, and I start pulling the tablecloth off, and my silverware falls on the ground, and I'm like, oh my god, why can't I just be normal? Not embarrass myself in every single place that I go to? I don't know. But if I was a sim, legitimately, one of my traits would be clumsy. You know, it is how it is. But anyways, it's this super nice and very kind of quiet restaurant, and of course I have to draw all the attention to myself and have silverware clacking to the ground, and then I have to like bend down and try to grab it off the ground even though I'm in a booth, and it's really hard to reach anything on the ground when you're in a booth. Yeah, other than that, hey, I don't think I embarrassed myself after that. Just that one incident, so pretty good night. Oh, guys, beforehand, I did these pictures of these Sims to put in the salon. I got really excited about that. I love making art that makes the place look more realistic, so I just got really excited. I had to point it out. By the way, you will see me put some salon type stuff on this countertop, all bunched up to one side. I didn't notice it until later that in the screenshots it's not fixed, but don't worry, if you want to download this build, that will be fixed in there. Speaking about downloading the build, I hope I have it all figured out to where it won't do this, but there has been a glitch going on, and I was having a lot of problems with it with this particular build. I don't know why, but I was having the glitch where if you change something, it deletes other things. So if you would change the wallpaper in a room, it would delete a bunch of things for, I don't even know what is the reason. It's been a real problem lately, and I know other people are having that problem as well. It's not just me. So I think I got it figured out to where none of the things will be deleted whenever you download it, but I'm just letting you know it is a possibility. There are a certain, culprits in this build. If the white curtains in the living room of the house got deleted, I am sorry about that. It was happening a bunch in this, so it very well could happen if you download it, but I think I got it figured out to where it won't happen. You just never know. Or if they don't fix the glitch by then and you want to download it, but you want to change some wallpaper, just be aware that it might delete something. One thing that also got deleted a few times was the magazine down in the salon. Yeah, so a bunch of little things like that were messing up, and hopefully in the next patch they will fix some of these weird glitches we've been having. In the meantime, if you're having that problem, something that I found that has been very useful is that Twisted Mexi has a mod that you can put in deletion protection, I think is the option. I can't remember if it's the tool mod or the Better Build By mod. I think it's the Better Build By mod, where you can turn on deletion protection whenever that starts happening. But you don't want to have deletion protection on all of the time. Just if you notice, like, hey, I'm changing this wallpaper and it's going to delete a bunch of things, you can put it on right then, change the wallpaper, and then turn it off. You don't want it on the whole time, because then you can't, let's say you mess something up, you can't do the undo button. So, it's just for a limited time use, and hopefully then they'll fix it. Here you can see I am working on the more modern karaoke bar building. In this building, and kind of a few different parts of this whole build, I have things that are probably a bit more urban and a bit more modern than what you'll see elsewhere in Mount Komorebi. Like for example, across the street, I built a kind of another one of these Japanese city street style builds, And even in the building next to this one, I have just some elements that are more urban, more modern. I did that on purpose because I really don't think we'll be getting like a Tokyo style world. I figure this is going to be the only Japanese world that we will be getting, and there's too much cool urban Japanese architecture and style. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to be able to build some of that stuff, right? So I knew that with these builds, I wanted to make this play a little bit more urban, just so I could use some of that stuff. And then whenever I start building across the little river, and it's in this section of town, but it's more of like houses. In those places, in those two lots, I'll build a little bit more in the traditional Mount Komorebi style. But for these, I specifically wanted to make it a lot more of a bigger city feeling. I'm starting to work on the apartments now, but right before this, I was just working on, I have 2 little like private karaoke rooms. So if you and just your group want to do karaoke on your own, well, you can do that. And then these apartments, this apartment is like, they're both studio apartments. So they're not even 1 bedroom. They're small. I wanted to make them pretty small. This one, it just has what do you call those? The pull-out beds? What is that? A Murphy bed. It has a Murphy bed in this one, and then in the one above this, it has more of a bedroom area, but it's not closed off, so it's still a studio apartment as well. The sim who lives in this apartment is obviously a snowboarder, a skier. They want to be out on that mountain all the time. The apartment above this is definitely a lot more like, it's got a lot of pink. I was thinking maybe they're artistic or they do design or whatever. And then the house that I made, that's actually has pink too. I must have been in a pink mood. I do like pink, but normally not this much. Just for some reason I wanted pink in 2 houses on this lot. But that one, I was figuring the building could have been a bit newer, and then they kind of just squished it in between the 2 existing buildings. And then the parking underneath the building, oh my gosh, that's like one of my favorite parts of this build, is that it's fake parking, of course, because there's no cars really, but I love that the parking is underneath the building. I saw that while looking up Japanese pictures, and I knew I had to have it in this build, so it's my favorite part. But that's a lot newer of a building, and it's pretty nice. But then these ones are just like your typical tiny apartments. So if you do the roommate thing, well, you can live in the big house, but your roommates can live in these apartments, you know? Did I mention the locking the door thing if you have roommates? I cannot remember if I mentioned that earlier in this video, but if you do decide to turn this into a residential lot and you have roommates, well, then you can just lock the doors for each specific sim so that each one of them will be hanging out only in their apartment, and it'll be like, you really have separate apartments? Again, I can't remember if I already mentioned that, but just in case I didn't, I wanted to mention it here. Something else I like to do is, let's say you want to own this lot and run the retail part, so you want to sell musical instruments. Well, something you can do if you want to also live here is that your sim could also own like a totally empty residential lot, and that could technically be their house, but they don't ever really have to leave the store. They can just kind of stay here and then just go to the empty lot and check their mail sometimes. That's what I do a lot. Well, guys, we are pretty much done with this build. I just want to thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me. As always, this will be uploaded to the gallery, so you can get it from there. Or if you need the trade files, you can get that from my Patreon, which I will have linked down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I hope to talk to you all again very soon. Bye, everybody!